Everybody, welcome back to the Pardon Will Live show. Almost said Pardon Will podcast. Bad habits. Well, it's still the Pardon Will podcast. It's just Pardon Will podcast live. That's why it's called Pardon Will Live. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You jabronis, it says it there at the bottom. Super important. Share this with your friends, with your family, or don't. It's fine. You don't have to share this. You don't even have to like and subscribe, but you can go to pardonwill.com. Sorry, I'm coughing a lot. Go to pardonwill.com and buy my book, By Every Meaningless Measure. It's right there at the top, pardonwill.com. Go there, buy it, read it, don't read it, put it up on your bookshelf, give it to a friend, do all that good stuff if you want to support the podcast. It's me every Sunday, always on time, 8 o'clock, never on time. Well, I might be almost early if you're 8 o'clock Central. Normally meant that by Eastern time, but if you're coming through in Central, like Texas or something, it's not even 8 yet. So I'm early. How about that? I'm extra early if you're on the West Coast. Either way, Sunday night, gonna have a fun episode for you guys. This time around, I say fun, probably not. I don't know if you noticed by the title. We're gonna be talking about pills, lots of pills. We're gonna talk about blue pills, red pills, white pills, black pills, clown pills, and the most important one I want to talk about tonight is the Christ pill. Almost sounds weird saying it that way. Kind of makes you seem like I'm taking something pretty transcendent and then bringing it down to urban vernacular. The only reason I know about these is because I looked them up on Urban Dictionary. Saw what all the kids were talking about every time they reference, red pill or blue pill or white pill, stuff like that. I'm going to go over those and we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I'm going to tell you what my favorite one is. I did all that intro stuff. Yep. Like I said, if you like this, like and subscribe, share it with your friends. Share it around. I know everybody and their mom has a podcast. That doesn't stop me. I'm super, what's the word for that one? I'm white pilled on the podcast thing. It's a good time. It's a fun time to share my thoughts, get them out there, and hang out. I got chat open, so if you have any question, anything you want to say, I might read it and put it up on the screen. Something cool. Put something cool. Don't put bad things in there. I'm not gonna share. Well, I might share those. That'd be fun. Anyway, I figured we start like we normally do. Pardon Live. Start off with our good friend Joe. I don't know if you guys know this, but Joe Scarborough, he's been coming up all over the place on these live things. Oh, where am I going with this? There we go. Yeah, I'm always bringing Joe up because Joe is a great source of information. I don't know if you guys know this. Let's before we get into that, let me take that back off. Nothing. I know last week I talked about the end of the world because the eclipse and stuff like that didn't happen. I don't know if you know this. We're still here. Most of us are still here. World didn't end. And so we were all like, hey, eclipse happened. We all survived. This will probably be a pretty good week. Nope, you were wrong. I was wrong. We were all wrong. This has been a crazy week. Tons of stuff has happened. Everything from starting it off. Let's talk about abortion real fast. That's a fun one to start your Monday morning off. And then we're like, oh, look at all these people talking about abortion. This is a decent debate. Oh, how about self-defense? And we had a whole case. I'm going to talk about that out in Wisconsin. That thing's falling apart too. Society's falling apart. We got FISA warrants coming through. The government's, hey, like we were spying on you without warrants on your internet devices. We were going to keep doing that one. Hope you're cool with it. But don't worry. Like Mike Johnson said, they took me in a back room and I've changed my opinion. Don't know what happens back there, but that happened. And then we were like, wow, could this week get any worse? Sure enough, World War III right on your doorstep. How about it? It's turned out to be a great election year. I wonder what else is in store. Anyway, kind of makes you wonder, man, should the eclipse actually ended the world? Now we're all kind of looking back and going, man, Monday, that could have been a nice send-off, but instead, a bunch of crap just got laid on your plate and handed to you throughout the week. That's only if you've been paying attention. Luckily, a lot of us try not to. And I'm just an average guy. I'm not even like hardcore politically savvy. You guys know that. I'm super dumb when it comes to politics. I'm just your normal guy out here watching Morning Joe, trying to get the inside. But the reason I wanted to talk about the Christ bill is because it seems like a lot of people were very what the kids call black pilled. This week. Actually, let's start off with that. Most of you guys already know what these are. I'm going to go through them really quick. So what black pill in the Urban Dictionary basically means you're pessimistic. Everything's doomed. Nothing seems like it's ever going to get any better. It's just, you're just in it. Everything you see looks like it's just falling apart, and it's never going to come out on the bright side. Now, juxtaposition, a white pill is you're optimistic. You're optimistic through it, even though everything looks really bad. You still be like, I don't know. I think there's a way to get out of this. And normally you have a reason for having that white pill. There's a solution to this problem, or some way to get through that. So you're white pilled if you're optimistic, and then you have your red pill. Is basically a reference to the Matrix from what I saw. Red pill means you've woken up out of the Matrix. You're not settled with the status quo. You're pretty sure everyone's lying to you. You're just seeing things through the veil of propaganda. It's starting to look like that. And if you're blue pilled, you most likely either have accepted the fact that there is a veil and you're not seeing all, but you're cool with it. And you're just like, look, the status quo is what I'm used to. It's that normalcy bias thing we talked about last week. A lot of people are like, nah, the world can't be that bad. America's not falling apart. It's been going great for like 250 years. Empires always last, right? Blue pill is kind of like that. Like maybe it's bad, but I've got other things to worry about. I'm just going to pretend that everything isn't falling apart. Those are your pills. And then there's clown pill. That's the fun. That actually was my favorite. Clown pill is everything's going to hell in a handbasket, but it's kind of funny. And so you're just paying attention to memes and you're having a good time. Chess Bear says, is capitalism turning into a techno-feudalism? We'll put that up there. Is capitalism turning it? Maybe that it could happen. It could have already happened. I'm not going to go into depth on that because I probably don't even know how to answer that properly. I don't know if capitalism does capitalism, can it turn into anything else? Can it just, or is there, was it always meant to be techno-feudalism? Anyway, wrong podcast, man. You got to find someone who's super smart. That ain't me. But this is a Twitch streamer, so he's used to smart people. Sorry, bud. Just ruined that one for you. I just got done explaining pills that are fiction. This is not your brightest bulbs in the cupboard over here. Anyway, so that's your blue pill. So we're going to go to blue pill number 1. We're going to see what all the blue pills are talking about today. Let's put this up here. Here's good old Morning Joe. I don't know if you guys know about Morning Joe. Totally. Oh, let's see what he says. Let's see what he's got. Chess Baiter 1 says, oh, totally not true. The part about smart people and Twitch. Oh, I don't hang out on Twitch, but I appreciate that. Then I might have to, Twitch might be my home. This might be where I belong. Anyway, let's take a look at this Morning Joe clip. We're going to talk, this goes back to Trump. Trump came out, was talking about, he took credit for the overturning of Roe v. Wade, kicking it back in the States. And he did this whole speech. And a lot of Christians, this is why I'm talking about it. A lot of Christians came out and because Trump was like, we're all about states' rights. It's the will of the people. This is what it is. I don't know about all this banned stuff, but we want the states and the people in the states to have the rights to do what they need to do. And that just infuriated the left and the right. Christians especially are like, I thought this guy was super pro-life. And to be honest, he's flip-flop back and forth, pro-life, pro-choice. I'm going to bring this up again. Don't forget, remind me to talk about whether or not we should believe politicians when they talk. That's probably going to get bought up. Let's see what's Chess Bear says. Quick question: are you right or left wing? Dude, I don't think I'm either. I'm probably right wing. Well, I am right wing because all the left wing people said I was. But I'm fairly. No, I'm pretty hardcore right wing. I think, except for I'm libertarian. That libertarian thing doesn't let me hang out in the right wing too often. I get kicked out of there fairly often. But whatnot. But yeah, so I'm right wing because I believe in Jesus, and that automatically puts me over there. Anyway, let's go to Morning Joe. We're going to talk about abortion. So Trump said all this. They're going to talk about this, and then they're going to bring in my favorite governor of all, my governor, Hochul. So let's see what she's got to say about this Trump and the abortion thing.
Fundamentally, women should have rights, and we should trust them to make these decisions.
Let's bring into the conversation the Democratic governor of New York, Kathy Hochul. She's a member of President Biden's re-election campaign advisory board. Governor, thanks for being on with us this morning. As we were just saying, Donald Trump trumpeted that he was the one with his 3 judges appointed to the Supreme Court who overturned Roe versus Wade. It was one of his proudest achievements, he said. And now, if you watch that video and his subsequent statements since Roe, since Dobbs, that he's running away from it because he has seen the political consequences of what he achieved. So what do you see in that statement as you watched the former president yesterday?
Well, thank you for having me on the show again. I had one simple statement.
What's
How
that?
do you know when Donald Trump is lying?
How?
When his lips are moving.
Ha
And that has
ha
been played out
ha
time and
ha.
time.
Hi-yo. How do you know Donald Trump? When his lips are moved. Classic. Classic. Oh, here we got another chat. Michael Giuliano says, Pardon Will 2024. Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I'm with you. Holcho coming in hot with the slam dunks on old D Trumpers. How do you know he's lying when his lips are moving? You know, she might not be wrong, but the problem is it's the pot kettle calling the kettle black. I don't think Holcho knows what the truth is. I don't think she's a politician. We're going to talk about. Actually, let's just bring it up again. If you are in 2024, and this is why Pardonable 2024 won't work. If you're in 2024 and you're like, all these darn politicians are lying through their teeth, well, except for this one. Take a step back, buddy. Take a step back. If it's a politician, chances are they're lying. Because what is their main goal? To win, to get votes. How do you win? How do you win? How do you get votes? Say the right things. The only thing Donald Trump has going for him is he tends to back those up. Weirdly enough, no one saw that one coming. He says a lot of strange things like, I'm going to overturn Roe v. Wade. Look what happened. Except for that wall. That wall he was like, I'm going to build that wall. That thing didn't get built. But the wall that did get built is being torn down by Biden anyway. So it doesn't matter. So even if Trump is trying to do what he did, like peace in the Middle East with the Abraham Accords, they'll just take that apart too. Even when he was like, we're gonna get all our troops out of Afghanistan, I'm gonna set this date, which he could have easily have done had he stayed in office, but Joe Biden got in there and mopped Afghanistan up, spick span, no mistakes, no regrets, perfect execution of withdrawal from Afghanistan, all that good stuff. Either way, politicians lie. You should expect that. I don't know why anybody is going into the voting season being like, no, somebody out there is telling the truth. Man, number one, most people lie. It's a common thing, but politicians is part of your job. And so what you need to do as an educated voter like myself, expect the lies and then see what they execute on, see where they're going with it. And so we're going to talk more about this. We're going to keep listening to old Holchel over here, and then I'm going to skip forward and we're going to see what Joe has to say about it too. See what Holchel's got. She had that zinger right off the bat, so I know we're in for it.
Again, women don't trust him. You're going to say something in March, you support a national ban. In April, the polls don't look so good, so now you're backing off, but all of a sudden you're going to lose the evangelicals, and you're going to keep going back and forth up until Election Day. And one thing, Donald Trump has been indicted all over this country, including right here in the state of New York.
No joke, right?
He just indicted himself in the eyes of women all over America, and they are going to pay back.
Here's the funny thing about this clip, and I'm not going to play another one. So Hochul just mentioned, it's like he's indicting even here in New York. No, we know. And it's crazy that you would bring that up because you think you'd want to avoid that because a ton of real estate people are being like, whoa, I can be indicted because I took out a loan because they assessed my property a little more than what the quote unquote tax assessment was. So that's a whole thing she's got to deal with because, real estate is booming in New York City, at least. It's going haywire. Oh, this is worth sharing. Michael Giuliano comes in with his hot take. Pretty women love Trump. Size 10 plus, not so much. Well, I don't know where Hochul is on that. But I think she's, I don't know what size she is, but she seems like she's super tiny. Like that's a different, I was thinking of, never mind. I was thinking of my mayor. They call her the leprechaun, so I just assumed that was Hochul too. She might be a tiny. She kind of looks like a gremlin. I'm gonna pull that back up. Anyway, let's continue to see. Let's fast forward. I'm gonna go to Joe. So that's what Kathy's got to say. She says, Trump's flip-flopped. Women don't like him. At least, the not so pretty ones don't like him. That's her hot take. Every time he opens his mouth, he's lying. She's telling the truth all the time, even when she's at church. And she is telling you to be her apostles and tell everyone to get the jab. No lies there. It's 100% effective. No lies, YouTube. No lies whatsoever. We're going to jump to right here. I think we're getting back Joe. All right, let's finish this out with Hochul.
Places like Amarillo, Texas, that are trying to take other rights.
Oh,
We're going after
actually,
IVF,
oh no, dude, this is how bad I
mifepristone.
am at this. We're gonna jump back. Actually, let's jump back here. I want you to pay attention to what they're doing on
And I've
Morning
been
Joe real
elected
quick.
official
Listen
for
to this.
30 years, was Joe Biden's ad when he showcased the real pain that women all across America are now suffering. You know, a young husband and a wife trying to have a baby, and what happened when she couldn't get care when that baby was miscarried. So this is painful for families, and it's all because of Donald Trump, who took credit for putting those Supreme Court justices in place and judges in places like Amarillo, Texas, that are trying to take other rights. We're going after IVF, mifepristone. So I think the playbook is clear, but it should not come down to politics. These are American rights that we cherish.
All right, let's stop right there real quick. So I watched the majority. You can go watch Morning Joe if you're just a masochist. You're like, you know what? I hate everything about my life. What should I do today? Go watch Morning Joe. Definitely make you feel great about yourself. I mean, it might actually. If you look at her eyes, tell me, she's got the crazy eyes, man. She does. Look at that. You imagine if that's what you're waking at 6 a.m. You got your coffee. What's the news say today? Who's on? All right, turn that TV off. Click. Yeah, that's not what you want to wake up to. Either way, that's my governor. She's all right. She got fairly elected, or she just like Cuomo touched a bunch of people and that got her in. Either way, whatever. It doesn't matter. She tells nothing but truth. The only person that lies in this race is old Donnie Trump. They keep doing this, and throughout this whole segment, talking about abortion, and they're like, Trump takes claim overturning Roe v. Wade, and then he's coming around being like it's the will of the people. What is he talking about? He was talking about he wanted to ban abortion out completely. Look at this. Look at him saying it's the will of the people. He kicking it back to rights. And if you pay attention to there, and this is my favorite part. This is why I'm bringing Hochul up. This is my favorite part about her. These are rights. These are freedoms that they're trying to take away because they kicked it back to the states. It's so weird to me to think, because constitutional carry is a right. It's literally a right to bear arms, right? Like, you have the right. Second Amendment. It's a right. Guess who didn't want you to have that? This one right here. So this whole idea of like, we're about freedoms, we're about rights. We don't like this kicking it back to the states, except for the gun thing. That thing's fun because we can do whatever we want in New York. And so that whole right thing, again, it's just lies. But again, you shouldn't expect anything out of your politician other than they're going to lie to you. And just hopefully they'll do it with cool, wavy hair and not crazy eyes. Joey Scarborough, he's going to go on and talk about, that was the other thing. I love this because New York is great. So New York has a abortion all the way up to birth, basically. There's no kickback. But every time they're doing this is what makes me nervous about this whole Morning Joe thing, this whole segment, and they're going to continue on. Every time they talk about kicking it back to the states, look, they're going after these people who are trying to have kids, and then they had a miscarriage, and now they got to flee, and they're trying to take IVF. All of their talking points for why Donald Trump was bad but kicking it back to the states are all for people who are trying to have kids. They never talk, or they did bring up rape victims. These are all your tiny segment over here. They're going to really pound on that, and I think they're really pounding on that for two reasons: to reassure all the Democrats, the left wing, that no, you're on the right side of history, because kicking rights back to states to let the people decide, that's terrible. Because the other thing is, now that Trump takes claim that they're kicking these rights back, the Roe v. Wade got overturned, he's going to come right back in and then reestablish the same thing, but on the flip, he's going to a federal ban on abortion, even though he just took off a federal ruling on abortion. He solved that problem, but he's just going to bring it right back up and ban it all. I have a hard time believing that, because he keeps saying all this states' rights thing, and you can't have a federal ban if it's states' rights issue. But of course, it's Democrats. States' rights only matter when it's the things that you want to ban. Anyway, that was the funny thing. So 9 months here in New York, but everywhere else they're trying to come after your miscarriages and trying to lock you up for that. They're telling you the truth, everybody. Just letting you know. It's to again, try not to be black-pilled, but that's where we're at today. Let's see what old Joey's got to say.
This is about rights.
Yeah, it is.
That's what Nancy Pelosi said last hour. It's about freedom. And I loved what we just heard, which is you can't say you're for any exceptions for rape or for incest or life of the mother if at the same time you're saying, I agree with all the states are doing.
Right.
That's
all right. So, somebody help me wrap my mind around this. You just said you can't be like, all right, look, I'm against abortion except for the exceptions, rape, incest, these issues, maybe the mother might not make the pregnancy, she might die. I'm able to consider that. But when it comes to states' rights, you can't back that up. Can anybody square the circle for me? Did he just say it was like if you're for exceptions, then you can't be for states' rights? Is that so? It's if you have any stance on abortion at all, any stance, and this is what the big argument this week was, and especially Christians involved, all the evangelicals, all my people coming in hot. If you have a stance on abortion at all, it can never be justified as being a states' rights thing. It has to be a national. Whatever your opinion on this is, where it should lie, and I'm a pro-lifer, full disclosure. I'm pretty staunch. I'm so pro-life, I don't even like to call it abortion. I call it what it really is, child sacrifice. And so I'm not even a pro-lifer. I'm an anti-child sacrifice person. Whatever camp that is, anti-child sacrifice. But if I have a stance on it, there is no opinion I can have that agrees with the states having a right to their own. So it only has to be federal. And I'm pointing this out because this is how the left thinks. If you have an opinion on anything, guess what? It needs to be federalized. Your opinion needs to be at the highest court. Make sure all the states comply. It can't have states deciding for themselves because you know what? That gives, rights to the people. That's what Joe just said. This is why I love Morning Joe. People are waking up at 6 a.m, starting their day off with this nonsense. Morning Joe coming in hot. If just so you know, this is what Morning Joe, and I almost guarantee all the left wing thinks. If you have an opinion about anything, gun rights, you have an opinion you have gun rights, you got abortion issues, health care, all that stuff. If you have an opinion whatsoever, you better be looking to federalize that across all states because states shouldn't have a say on your opinion. And if you don't like it, if you're in a state and you're like they're doing, like say I was in Texas and they got a I'm in New York. Here's a great one. I'm in New York. Abortion's allowable all the way through 9 months. I think. I don't know. I haven't looked that up in a while, but it seems like something New York would do. New York and California hold hands as they run towards just straight hell. Anything that's just off the rockers. New York and California like to see who can get to the end of society faster. Anyway, I can move because that's a states thing. So people are like, Dave, how do you feel about your opinion about abortion? And I'm like, I don't think I'm anti-child sacrifice. And they're like, but you live in New York. I can move. And who knows, I might. Because Crazy Eyes over here keeps telling me that it's about freedoms, except for the freedoms that you might want, like constitutional carry. We've got Fables Twitch says hi from England. Hey Fables, welcome to the most mediocre live show in America. Just me chit-chatting about Morning Joe. Probably don't know what Morning Joe is. Doesn't matter. Fables, don't waste your time. It's a morning show, news morning show. They do nothing but spit truths and make sure that if you have an opinion, it needs to be federalized over all the states. Whatever your opinion is, mandated. Lefties love their mandates. Anyway, so that was Morning Joe. I figured we start off. Wow, we went 25 minutes in Morning Joe. I gotta stop doing that. So don't be black-pilled just yet. The week isn't over. One of the other things I want to talk about, moving on to the next segment, away from abortion. There was a big debate this week between David Hogg, the gun control activist, The guy who was a part, I almost said involved in the Parkland. They almost Alec Jones me there. He was a victim in the Parkland shooting, and then spent his whole entire life telling you that you're not allowed to have guns because of the situation. He debated Spike Cohen, a libertarian, was a vice president candidate in 2020. Great guy. I'm completely biased in the gun control argument, as you can see from the podcast so far. They had a debate over it, which is great because it was a great debate. But the funny thing about this debate is all the people on the left were like, dude, David Hogg won that debate, bro. And then everybody else on the libertarian and the right side were like, dude, Spike Cohen crushed it. And this is where the black pill sets in. No matter how much, and involves the abortion thing too, actually involves the election thing too. No matter where you sit on the sides of these debates, these discussions, what's a right, what's not a right, what's freedom, what should we be allowed to have, it doesn't seem like there's much of a middle anymore, and it doesn't seem like anybody is switching sides. It doesn't even seem like we even agree on who won a debate. It just seems like whatever your side is the right side, and whatever the other side is the wrong side. And that's the black pill. That's where it starts to seem like it's a bit hopeless. And I hate to say this now because we're only in April. We got a whole year of election things. I'm telling you, I would put my bet on 95% of the country that is going to vote this year already knows who they're voting for, especially the ones that are already dead. They definitely know who they're voting for. That's a little election stolen joke. Anyway, that was a little joke. I didn't have to put that in there, but I did. Everyone knows who they're voting for. Even an October surprise, like a laptop that would pop up out of nowhere, I don't think would change the opinions of much people at this point. Everyone says there's independents, which would be me. I might. No, there's no way you could sway me. There's no way. I mean, you might. And that's the best part about this. I mean, you could sway me with a phenomenal libertarian candidate. That would be a good sway. But at this point in time, highly doubt it. Highly doubt you watching. Like, if you're sitting back going like, this is a pretty big toss up. You either one, I hate both of them. They're both geriatrics. They're both way too old to run this country. And you are not wrong. You are absolutely right. But when it comes down to you're either going to vote or you're not going to vote, or you're a hardcore libertarian or ANCAP, and you're like, give me a libertarian. I'd rather the percentage show that America voted outside of the duopoly this year around, because most likely if you're in that camp, every election you're told that it's the most important election of all time. And it never really seems to be, except for here recently. 2020 was a pretty important election. I don't know if you guys lived through the whole COVID thing. These elections actually matter, not just the presidential one, all your local ones too. Sometimes it's easy to forget how hardcore of a grip the government has on your life until something comes out where they shut everything down and you lose your job and they start firing people because of their medical status. Talk about medical freedoms. We should pull Holchel back up. How does she feel about medical freedom again? I live in New York. Anybody remember what 2020 was like in New York? Oh yeah. Yeah, it was awful. So much for medical freedom. Again, these politicians lie. I don't know what you would expect outside of this. Anyway, back to that was a weird rabbit trail. Back to the gun debate. I thought it was great. I actually like that David Hogg sat down with the libertarian or anybody on the gun rights side and had a debate. You don't see these that often anymore. Normally it's just not worth watching. This one was, but there was this moment. Oh, and that was my point, is everybody already saw, all the lefties thought they won. All the right-leaning libertarians, they thought they won, is what it is. So Michael Giuliano says, Israel, we're getting there. We're not even past Wednesday yet of recapping of the week. We're going to get to World War III. So I'm going to show you this clip. I want you to see this. How do I get rid of this thing real quick? Check out this clip. This is right at the end. Lily Tang Williams is she came from China, and she stood up. I know this is a weird format because it's off of Asian Sky News. It's a clip. I want you to mostly listen to it because you can't really see. So at the end, they did Q&As, and Lily stands up and asks a question for David Hogg, the gun rights activist. And so I'm gonna drop this up like that. I want you to listen to the end of this and tell me what your thoughts are, because I thought this was pretty insightful. I wanted you to see this.
My name is Lily Tang Williams. Welcome to my live free or die state.
Like the thing.
Actually, I am a Chinese immigrant who survived communism. And under Mao, 40 million people were starving to death after he sold communism to them, and 20 million people died, murdered during his Cultural Revolution. So my question to you, David, is that can you guarantee me, a gun owner tonight, our government in the U.S., in D.C., will never become a tyrannical government? Can you guarantee that to me?
There's no way I can ever guarantee that any government will not be tyrannical.
Well, then the debate on gun control is over, because I will never give up my guns. Never. And you should go to China to see how gun control works for dictatorship of CCP.
Anyway, I thought that was insightful. And so she basically comes up at the end of this debate and says, and this is a great way for a debate to come to a conclusion, because you can go back and forth about the stats, and which Spike did a lot. A lot of people said that was a disheartening part, because he brought nothing but facts and stats and graphs to show what the actual what the reality is when it comes to gun control. And David Hogg was like, yeah, but the guns, how are you supposed to be able to drive down the road without worrying about getting shot in the face? And it's like, well, apparently David Hogg's a terrible driver if he's worried about that all the time. Nevertheless, so, and then all of this back and forth, and then Lily Tang Williams gets up and she's like, hey, can you guarantee this? And he's like, no, I can't guarantee. Can you guarantee the government's not gonna put their hand down and just become a tyrannical government? It's like, no, I can't guarantee it. She's like, well, then it's over. And this is the funny thing, because back when we were talking about guns and Joe Biden was coming out run for election in 2020, he was like, you can't fight the government off with your little pew-pews. We got F-15s, which is a terrifying thing for a president to say. But move right past that one. The idea, here's the fun thing. This is the fun thing about people who like guns. If the government came down as a tyrannical fist, and you at least had a bow and arrow, at least you're allowed a bow and arrow. Just the fact that you wouldn't have to go down on your knees is something, and that's what I think Lily's talking about there. It's like, yeah, I might not. I mean, it's China. How are you going to fight China with your little pew-pews? But just the fact that you don't have to settle for going down your knees, you at least have something to fight back with. And what that signal thing is, that gun control thing, are you going to win against an F-16? No, you're not going to win. But you have hope. You have hope that this might stave off something like that happening. Like, that's the hope. It's not about whether or not I have a gun or how many guns or how much ammo I have. It's about the fact that this gives me hope as an American to go, the government's never going to put their boot down further than they already have, as we see with the going into the week with the FISA warrants. But that's the thing. That's that white pill. That's that hope, being like, I know it's bad, but here's something I'm holding on to. This thing. I might not be able to take down F-16 with my pew-pew, but at least I have something to go. I can fight. I don't have to just swallow it. I don't have to just get down on my knees and say, please don't hurt me. You have some hope that most Americans would hold that dear. It's the demoralization that we're fighting against. And I've said this on Twitter before, and I think it needs to be said again. And I think it's weird. It's not always right wing. Right wings do this too. It's not just a purely left wing thing, but it definitely seems like it's coming from the left wing. There's this idea, and going back to the clip where they only brought up like mothers and fathers who want to have kids, and they're taking away IVF, and what if this mother, she's trying to have a baby, she has a miscarriage, they're going to put her in jail. They're appealing to the heart, and this is why I think it was weird that they did that on Morning Joe. They're appealing to a person who has morals, who's thinking about it, like, I don't want that to be. I don't want a woman who has a miscarriage going to jail. Wow, that would be all horrific. They're appealing to that, but you can't demoralize the left in reverse, saying, Like every time I bring up abortion, I call it child sacrifice. Do you think that bothers them? Bill Maher came out this week. That went viral too. Where he's like, yeah, I understand that's killing babies, but I mean, everybody else seems so cool with it. Bill Maher basically said that's a paraphrase. Bill, I know it's a paraphrase. He basically said it. He's like, yeah, no, I get it. I can understand them thinking it's murdering children. I get it, but it's still a woman's right to choose. You can't demoralize people who don't have morals. So you can't demoralize the left. When I say it's, I'm anti child sacrifice. It's child sacrifice. They don't care. It's not, it doesn't bother them. And that's not going against, well, they should care. How are you supposed to care if you don't have a set rule of morals? And we're not going to go into postmodernism where all morals are made up, just like pronouns, which is legit what they believe. They also believe that your rights are given to you by the government, not by God, because there is no God. So how can God give you your God-given rights? The government does. So if the government gives you rights, they can take it away, because rights don't really mean anything else except for whoever has the power, which whoever has the F-16s gets to tell you what's right and what's wrong. And that's the problem, because there is no such thing as morals. It's all relative truth anyway. It's my truth. So if there's no objective morals, there's really no good and bad. It's just whatever we say it is. Whoever is empowered tells you what's good or bad. If you don't have a transcendent morality, if you don't have a God, then everything's made up. Nietzsche talked about this all the time, because God is dead and we killed him. And now we have to create games to make it feel like there's something sacred. He said we wiped away the horizon with a sponge. We don't even know what's up and down anymore. So we have to make it up. And whoever holds the power gets to tell you what is up and down, gets to tell you what the horizon is, gets to tell you whether or not you're moral or not moral, because morals aren't real on the left. They are on the right. That's why when Morning Joe comes out, and he's like, hey, these mothers, man, they're having, miscarriages. This little girl, she got raped. She's trying to go to Iowa so she can. Why would you right wingers want to make sure he actually used the word forced birth, which I think all these cool code words. We'll talk about one. I'm not even going to play the clip. These cool code words are just signals, just to let you know what they're thinking. One of them was Arizona came up, and the thing, if you were paying attention to this Arizona debate, where they're like, they're enacting a law back in 1864. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. And sure enough, they dropped Civil War over and over again. I don't think it's because they're trying to spark one. I think they want to make you think of Civil War when you think right and left. It's a Civil War law back from 1864. All right, riddle me this, Batman. If a law is old, does that make it bad? It's the same thing when it comes to oppression and the oppressor and the oppressed. It's if it's a smaller, and this is the same thing we saw with the war overseas. The smaller the country, they're automatically David, which means they're already morally, they have the moral authority. This idea that morality isn't real, it's something that you can possess and then give away and give back and give away, and it's not transcendent. Again, they don't believe there is an objective truth or an objective morality. So you can toss it around like a football, whoever you want to have it. Going back to the Arizona thing, this law, this banning abortion, this is an antiquated law, which means it's automatically bad. There's tons of, how old is the law of gravity, guys? Is that one automatically bad? That was a dumb example, but you get what I'm saying. I mean, we still have, talking about the 10 Commandments going up in Texas. That was a big story that happened this week. Make sure all schools, if they want state funding, have to have the 10 Commandments in the building. That law, that thou shalt not murder thing, that's pretty old. We should probably kick that one out. Ohio, this is going into another, this is why it's such a bad week. Out in Wisconsin, segue. This is a terrible segue. Really tearing it up this live stream this week, guys. Out in Wisconsin, there was a case that didn't really get a lot of play. I'm going to give you a fast forward of it from what I heard. I think it's still ongoing, so I don't know all the results of it, but it definitely seems like this guy was in self-defense, had a self-defense argument. It doesn't look like he's going to get away with it. So him and his family were out tubing, a bunch of teenagers, a bunch of people out tubing, floating a river is what we used to call it in Texas. It's a good time. It's a good time. Someone lost the phone, so he's looking for the phone. And this group of teenagers decided to rough him up. I don't know all the details. Pushed him around. And at one point in time, I assume his life was threatened, or he was just angry because a bunch of teenagers were pushing him down the ground, or he was in the water. I don't think he was going to drown, but he was like 2 foot. They could have seriously hurt him. He was 50 years old. Came out swinging the knife, ended up cutting one of the teenagers. That teenager died in the river. Seems like a fairly good self-defense case. He wasn't the aggressor. They came after him. There's a ton of, you can watch the video. It's pretty bad. He'll probably go to prison. And the only reason I say that, it's not even a racial thing. I think everybody was white. A bunch of white people out there. White on white crime. Not a racial thing. It's probably why you don't hear about it. But either way, I don't think self-defense is something that you can really bank on anymore. And I think that comes from even the Kyle Rittenhouse. People still think that guy, even though he got off of self-defense. I think that might have been one of the last major cases we're going to see where you have the right to defense. The Daniel Penny, the guy who choked out the guy on the subway, had a bunch of people came out as eyewitness being like, no, we thought we were going to die, and the guy saved us. Nope, he's going to jail. I think, and this is what I'm just going back to the demoralization thing I was talking about. I think if you can get rid of this Lily Tang Williams thing, the self-defense, if you can demoralize people enough to where they won't even know how to act in a situation, I think that only works for the right, because it's a moral situation. So I had this conversation. I had to think about this a lot because I put myself in this position. So, if I'm out somewhere and something happens, it could be anybody, anywhere, and someone does something that threatens my family, I have to make a quick move and be like, if I try to defend my family, am I going to end up in a way deeper trouble than I'm already going to be in? And this could happen at any point in time. Like if someone's trying to attack my family and I come out in self-defense and I stab somebody in the stomach or something like that, am I going to go to jail? Because self-defense is non-really existent in this country. The more I thought about it, the more I was like, well, then I might just have to not go places anymore. And that's the demoralization thing I'm talking about. Is it better to just avoid places with large groups of people in case something happens, especially if people are inebriated? Because what if something happens? I've used to bartend and I've seen a ton of fights break out in bars. And at any point in time, things can get dumb and someone can lose their life. And I don't want to be a part of any situation like that. And especially if it's someone coming after me and something happens and then I risk my own well-being by just defending myself. It's a scary thing. It makes you feel black-pilled, going back to the pills again. It makes you feel like there's no hope. We don't have any real rights in it. We can't have arguments anymore because every side just thinks they won. There's no agreeing. There's no, looking at the facts and coming to a similar conclusion. There's no bipartisanship. There's a starch divide, and that is demoralizing in itself. I don't know how you go through this life without being utterly black-pilled. Being optimistic seems like you'd have to ignore the facts. It seems like you'd have to be blue-pilled and white-pilled together. Because if you're red-pilled at all, which is stepping out of the status quo, looking around, you're going, looking at all these cases, watching Morning Joe and having some sense of common sense about you, you'd be like, God, this is going downhill real quick. This is getting real scary. And we all thought the eclipse was bad. And we're like, well, this is bad. Then they're going to tack on towards the end of the week, the FISA. FISA came back up. And then the FISA warrants, I don't know a ton about them, not a legal guy. But from what I understand, FISA warrants were warrants you had to take out to spy on people in case they were domestic terrorists or whatever. They could track your cell phones. They could look at all your text messages, stuff like that. All the stuff they did during COVID, with Facebook and Twitter, all that stuff came back up to a vote. And a ton of hardcore Republicans were like, no, we're okay with this spying on American people. Let's keep that in there. So that passed. I think it's going to appeal Monday because there's a few people. I think they're only Republicans. All the Democrats are like, spying on people sounds like a blast. Let's go. Except you're not allowed to spy on Congress people, and definitely don't know their stock trades because can't be mimicking their stock trades. Either way, that came out, and that was right at the end of the week. And we're like, wow, could this week get any worse? Probably not. Who had World War III on their bingo card? So that's a fun one. So I say all this so I don't know if you know about this, but Iran and Israel have a little tit for tat. Don't know all the details about that. Almost at this point in time, I might have been so black-pilled, I'm not even sure I care. I mean, I care, but at what point in time can you absorb all of the things that are going on in the world and still be like, yeah, no, everything's fine. Everything's gonna be fine. Is this gonna be? And I think I got that same feeling from people on the internet. It seemed like a lot of people were out. And again, you can go out and touch grass. But when you hear like bombs blowing up overhead and you're worried about going to jail in case you try to, defend your family on a subway, it's kind of hard, even when you're touching grass, to be like, yeah, no, we're in good shape, heading on a great path here. So I do find it appealing when people are trying to be optimistic. I think that's important. I also find it appealing when people look at all their situations and laugh at them because it is a bit of a clown world. I bring that up all the time. Some of the things in your face, like right in front, like all the morning Joe. I've had a ton of clips where I just laugh at it because it's absurd. A lot of the things that we're dealing with just seem absurd all the time. How about the fact that we keep letting the border open and a ton of people flying through, but we're just shoving money off to foreign countries to deal with their wars? That I don't know what to do with that other than laugh. Because what do you do? What do you do? Is just a normal guy, not very political. I'm more concerned about the culture war than I am about foreign policy because the culture war is something I can wrap my head around. At least I'm trying. That seems like a war that's happening in my front yard versus the foreign policy one. And so even that seems disheartening. Even when you take you gain a step in the culture war, like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but I actually know what a woman is. I know the Supreme Court can't define it because they're not biologists, but you average listener, you know what a woman is, and it's okay to know what a woman is, even if the highest court in the land can't describe it. And so I say all that, and I mean, going long on this rant, but I say all that because there is one other option. It's not always blue pill. It's not always red pill. You can partake in those pills, but they're not going to give you the answers you want because all of those involve the world falling apart too. Just how you react to it. Same with the white pill. Same with the black pill. The world's falling apart. These are just adjectives on how your personality and how you react to it. Clown World was my favorite because I think it's the closest to the one that I think is the most important. Christ pilled. I say Christ pilled, and again, I know it sounds absurd. It sounds like I'm diminishing the authority of God. But I think in our cultural climate, I think it's okay to take things like this and make them communicable. And the Christ pill is basically letting you know that all of the stuff that you see, all of this stuff is a vapor in the wind, in the span of all eternity. Not maybe just not eternity, just in time. Think about the last 5,000 years. Now think about how crazy the last 20 have been. But it's 20 years in like 5,000. And so that juxtaposition of putting, all of eternity up to whatever we're dealing with now. And people are super worried about America and they're worried about just living next to people. I mean, the idea of civil war was the main topic until World War III. Think about that. Think about for the past month, a movie just came out called Civil War, and people were like, "Oh my God, is this like that one time they dropped that movie about a pandemic, and then we got a pandemic?" Yeah, that happened too, by the way. I don't know if you remember that. I forgot what the movie was called. It came out like in 2019. It was about a world pandemic, and then guess what happened? Anyway, so this movie dropped Civil War. We were just talking about Civil War, and now we're talking about World War III. There's people online going, which one do you think will happen first? Not whether or not they'll happen, just which one are we going to get first? Mind-blowing, mind-blowing. And so I say all that because there is one pill, the Jesus pill. I think the Christ pill is the only pill that looks at the situation, sees it for what it is, and then can step out into a transcendent concept of them all. Is the world falling apart? Does it feel like it's falling apart? Yeah. Does it feel like your life is falling apart? Maybe. Some of y'all. Are you having trouble sleeping at night because you didn't touch grass enough? You've been online too much? Does it just seem dismal? What if you are so gung ho? Here's a great way to look at people who really care about America. What if, oh man, this is a rough one too. What if you went and fought overseas for like a decade? Like, here's a good, you went and fought in the Afghan war for a decade just to watch a shoddy pullout where it almost feels meaningless. But you cared about your country so much you went and put your life on your line, not just for like a week or a year or 4, but like for a decade. And then really cared about America enough to put your life at risk all the time just to see it fall apart in front of your eyes. That's rough. That's rough. And I don't know if a clown pill's good enough. And what I think the only way out of this, the only way to stay somewhat sane is to pull back into our natural situation. Go to like not just a 30,000-foot view and look at everything, but even further back, like a 30 billion thousand foot view. Like like look back through the eyes of God and go, okay, as a vapor in the wind of all eternity, is this going to get any better? And that's the Christ pill, because basically they're all like, is it going to get better? Is it optimism? Is it pessimism? What does it look like? And what are you asking about? Your lifetime? Your kid's lifetime? Well, what about all of time? And when you start to look at all the time and you're a follower of Christ, you know the battle already won. Like, you know, this whole thing that you're going through, the end is already decided. It was won with the cross. Like, it's done. Like that, it is finished thing, the whole Jesus phrase, it is finished. That's the point. So when you walk through this life and you watch the world fall apart and you start to get nervous about, do I even go into public places? Is this going to be okay? Can I say the things I want to on the internet? Are they spying on me? All of that stuff, it's not even in the peer view of what has actually happened in all of history. So I know we all feel like we're the main characters in our story. The Christ pill totally takes that away. You're not the main character, but you are a part of the story, and you're just as important, but you're not the main character. And I hate to say this, neither is America. Again, with the whole Christian nationalism thing, Jesus didn't come and die on the cross just so America could be awesome. I think America was a very big symptom. I don't think America would have ever came about unless Jesus came. I'll tell you that. I highly doubt America would even be here if Christ didn't die on the cross and resurrect. And I say all that to say, if he did it for that time and they made it through, and then things like America showed up, America falling apart in front of you and all this stuff that you're dealing with in your everyday life, and it just seems like it's all going to hell in a handbasket. We're not even halfway through an election year. What kind of things are in store for the next few months? Just remember, the end has already been written. Like, this is, you're going to have to live through it. And, you know, you will suffer and carry your cross, but the end isn't what you think it is. It's already been sealed and secured. So you're just participating in the story, and you're just on the winning team. And so go out there, read your Bible, love your neighbor, and be Christ pilled, because it's the only thing that gets you up. It keeps you asleep at night. Because what else are you going to do? How are you going to solve World War III? Any of you guys hopping on a ship and going over there to bring peace in the Middle East? Are you going to be able to do that? You can't even get time off from your 9 to 5 to take your family on vacation. You're gonna go solve world peace. You're gonna fix healthcare. You guys have any plans to do that? Or are you just trying to make sure you get an oil change on time so you don't blow a head gasket? How are you gonna solve these things? You live your life. You tell the truth when you can. That Jordan Peterson thing is really just Jesus thing. Tell the truth. Love your neighbor as yourself, and have hope, because hope is the thing that keeps it all afloat. Hope floats, like that movie with Sandra Bullock. And that's what the ultimate Christ bill is. It's just hope. It's like Lily Tang Williams. It's not about winning the war against a tyrannical government. It's about having hope during it. Because if you can keep hope, then there is no defeat. Like, that's the point. And there's a phrase Paul talks about: to live is Christ, to die is gain. If I die, if you this is all the martyrs went to their death preaching the gospel. All the martyrs, all the apostles went to the death preaching the gospel, and they did it with smiles on their face. How do you think that happens? How do you think people are like, yeah, this Jesus guy I hung out with, he's a son of God, and I'm going to tell people and they're going to kill me, and I'm going to be okay with that? How do you think that happens? That's Christ pilled. That's hope. And hope does more than any of your stats and graphs and best arguments that no one's listening to because they're already chosen their side. All of that stuff that you're doing, it's going to seem hopeless eventually. The one thing that isn't hopeless is knowing that this whole thing that you're connected to outside of the time, is transcendent. You have hope that there is always a tomorrow, because whether you're here or not, God is transcendent outside of time. So you're a part of something that's greater than just you. Anyway, that's my preachy gospel. Don't be black pilled. Don't be white pilled. Don't be red. Be red pilled. Don't be blue pilled. If you're gonna watch Morning Joe, have a few cups of coffee first, and then just remind yourself that these people are lying to you, because that's what they do for a living. That's their job. It's propaganda. Like there might not be good at it, which might infuriate you more, but that's fair. It's propaganda. But I can't solve your white pill, black pill thing. If you're depressed because it just seems like it's all falling apart, I'm not going to be able to solve that, but I can point you to somebody who would. And so if you can at least start off with a clown pill and just start laughing about it, just Joker style, be like it's falling apart, that's cool. But I'm telling you, the Christ pill is the only way to go. You can't. There's a scripture: who will separate you from the love of God? Nothing can. Nothing can. They can't take that from you, and thus they can't take hope from you. So if you believe in a God, you believe Jesus died and rose again, has defeated death itself, is outside of death. There's a scripture for that too. Death, where's your sting? Where's your victory? Like the guy that's that I serve, he defeated death itself. There's nothing that can separate me, that can take my hope away, death included. It doesn't. I'm never going to be hopeless, is the point. So that's Christ build. It's just hope. It's everlasting hope. And so hopefully that helps you out for this week. What a horrible way to start your week, guys. I apologize. But it's been a rough one for a lot of people. We saw a lot of things happen in 1 week. I was like, Monday, I was like, I guess I'm talking about the abortion thing come next Sunday. Oh boy, I did not know all the things that were going to happen. But again, the only thing I'm mostly worried about is whether or not I keep my eye on things that are eternal and not get wrapped up into what's happening at the moment. Again, I'm not saying ignore it. Don't blue pill it. It's not the same thing as Christ pill. Be like, well, I believe in Jesus, so I'm just going to pretend like no. No, do your part. Participate because you're called to. But just don't lose hope is my point. And don't fall for the lies. I know that whole Marx thing, religion's the opiate of the masses. It's not. He just doesn't understand hope because he doesn't know what hope is. This is Marxism. Hope doesn't equate. Just doesn't compute. And again, here's something. If you feel demoralized, it's only because you have morals. That's a good thing, by the way. It's good to have morals. It's not good to be demoralized, but it does tell you that you're looking for an ideal that is higher outside of the postmodern relativism that we're dealing with in our society today. So if you're feeling demoralized, it's because you believe in something like transcendent hope, truth, and transcendent morality. Anyway, this is a fun episode, guys. I know I haven't joked. It's been like 2 weeks, and I've been like, you guys like jokes? Guess what? No jokes this week. No fun. I'm trying to get back to fun time. It's just been the past few weeks. I'm feeling it with you. We're all feeling it. So that's my thing for this week. Christ pilled, everlasting hope. It'll get you by. It'll get you through. At least hopefully through all the way till next Sunday where we can all hang out again. Guys, appreciate it. Go like and subscribe. Share this with your friends. All that good stuff. I'll be back here at 8, probably 8:30 next week. And we'll talk. We'll have more clips. It's always fun watching clips and making fun of people. That's kind of the fun. That's a good way to start the week off. So we'll do that next week, hopefully. Unless it just gets worse, then I'm just gonna be back on here, be like, I know you guys. I said it was gonna get better, but it got worse. So we're just gonna talk about Jesus the whole time. That might be what it is. No, we'll have fun. I'm gonna try to bring some fun into it anyway. But I love y'all. Hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you back here.